Hey y'all, today on the farm I'm going to show y'all something you ain't seen in a long time down south. We're going to hook a Massey Ferguson tractor to a peanut picker and we're going to go get them goobers. So we've got the Massey and the Amadas moved to the field out here. The nuts aren't quite ready today. We're going to be picking all day tomorrow with a Versatile pulling a Colombo. We have Massey Ferguson pulling an Amadas. We have John Deere's out here. We're going to have Case and we have KMC pickers. A little bit of everything in the peanut world is going to be out here running. But today we're going to talk a little bit about this Massey Ferguson and what makes it so special and so unique and why it is a great fit for peanut farming down here in the South. One feature I like right off the bat is how the cab has a major separation between it and the engine compartment. So on most tractors, the engine compartment touches the windshield or is within an inch or two of the windshield. This one is a pretty large distance between them all the way down. The purpose for that is to not let as much heat get to the cab and as a reduction of noise. So the inside of the cab is actually much quieter and much less heat. A tractor is nothing more than a greenhouse hooked to a big heater. You have all that engine heat blowing in there on the glass, heating up the whole cab. Massey's reduced the heat, they reduced the noise by putting separation in there, but more importantly, they added their air intake in that very place. So instead of sucking your air in up front where all the dust is, where all the particulates in the areas, they're actually sucking it in up here between the windshield and the engine where you're not getting as much dust, not getting as much air particulates, so the air going into the engine on these tractors is much cleaner and your cab's much cooler. So all in all, you kind of wonder why everyone isn't building the tractors this way. It's a really ingenious thing that Massey has come up with. All right, I'm in the cab now. Tell us who you are, what you do with Massey, and then I'm going to ask you a few little questions about this tractor.
Thanks, Patrick. My name's Adam Sills. I'm the field product specialist for Massey Ferguson, and I cover Georgia, Florida, and Alabama.
So he showed me something that I thought was super cool when we fired this tractor up. The main issue we have with tractors and peanut farming is dust. Dust, and more dust. Some points we're making so much dust we can't even see the peanut picker hooked to the tractor. It gets that dirty, which makes guidance more important because sometimes you can't see where to drive in front of the tractor. But the issue with all the dust is we clean out air filters, as y'all have seen on this channel. Every day it looks like someone's packed our air filters full of dirt. And that also translates to the inside of the tractor being very dirty. And this is where Massey's come up with something that I hadn't seen on any other tractor. Explain me the thing you said about the air pressure and how that works.
Yeah, so we have a feature on our HVAC system where we can create a positive air inside this cab. So when you open the door, air is being blown out, keeping that dust out of your cab rather than coming in through the door and cluttering up your cab. So
kind of like when you go in the gas stations that have that air when you open the door.
Exactly.
They've got a system here. You can set your air conditioner to be doing this or not doing this. They have different ways to run your air conditioning, but one of the settings is when you open this door, air is blowing all out of the cab, so you're not allowing dust to get in here and contaminate this environment in here.
So Patrick, I want to ask you a question. What are you and I both wearing right now?
New Massey Ferguson hats.
What do they have on these hats?
They got a bill.
Right, so the bill, what does it do, right? It keeps the sun off of your face, keeps your face cool, keeps the glare down. Massey Ferguson has designed a cab after a farmer's hat, right? So we've looked at how far our roof hangs over in front of the operator to allow glare and sunlight not to enter the cab. One, that allows you to see, but two, it helps with the cooling capability of the cab, right? If we're keeping hot sunlight out of here, we don't have to run the air conditioner wide open all day.
Yeah, so a tractor, I've said many times, is just a greenhouse hooked to a heater. This is a big glass shell hooked to a 300 horsepower heater. And so one thing I've noticed about this is you have created way more shade, way more overhang. This cab, I can't come close. I can reach about half the distance to the windshield. The cab is remarkably larger than any of the cabs I've been in. I've been in one at the expo. Y'all may have saw me year before last at the expo, or last year at the expo. We were discussing cab sizes, but this is the only tractor I've seen that has a cab quite like this. And I've read somewhere that your competitor's cab, some of your competitors' cabs will fit inside of this cab.
That's correct, yeah. Same chassis size, comparing against some of our competitors, their cab will fit within our cab.
It's remarkable. So you have a larger environment in here, and it's that the capacity of having all that extra space in here and keeping it cool makes a big difference. Big difference. There's a lot of room for your ice chest in here, whatever you're going to need. But also, when you're on a smaller tractor, this is a much harder battle to keep that interior space clean, because your windows are right here on you, so you're sitting in here getting beamed with the sun instead of sitting in the middle of a big shade tree, which is where you're at in this tractor.
Exactly.
One of the cool features they have on this tractor is the hydraulic fluids are separated. So a lot of times you have a fill on the back, you have a sight glass or a dipstick, and then a fill point on the rear of a tractor, and that will be your transmission oil as well as your hydraulics you use for your implement, in this case a peanut picker. The peanut pickers have a lot of hoses that do a lot of different things: dump the basket, lift the head up and down, run the head. So we use a lot of hydraulic pressure, a lot of hydraulic fluid with a picker. But if one of these hoses bust, which is not uncommon, and that oil is also your transmission oil, well, then your tractor's immobile, because you just spilled all the transmission oil. You just sprayed it all out of your hoses, and that leaves your tractor immobile in the field with a busted hose. Tell us what Massey has done to fix that problem.
So we separate our hydraulic implement oil from our transmission oil. Having the two separate reservoirs, the two separate systems, allows us to do things like Patrick described. If something was to go wrong in the field with the implement, a blown hose, contaminants enter the system, the tractor can still run, the tractor can still get home, still get back to the farm, still get repaired, and get back out here, not leaving you in a down position in the field. It's all about keeping the farmer in the uptime situation and keeping them running.
Yeah, so he has a fill here for his hydraulics for the implement, and we got a separate fill around the side for the actual transmission on the tractor.
Opposite ways. Yeah.
Opposite.
Yeah, so this is your implement, and then on the back side would be your transmission.
On some of our other tractors, we have to swap the PTOs from time to time. If we go from, let's say, running a hay baler to a peanut picker or a mower, you may have a 540 mower, you may have a 1,000 shaft on a peanut picker, and so a lot of times the actual PTO shaft is made such that you have a snap ring that you would bring together, and then you pull your shaft out, spin it around, and stick it back in. It has a 540 in, it has a 1,000 in. You just reverse which end is sticking out of the tractor and which side is in the tractor. Massey's come up with something a little bit different than that, because during that process you could get dirt, because dirt's gonna be all over the tractor, or whatever. You could get contamination inside your reservoir in there from taking that dirty shaft out and flipping it around and sticking it back in. So tell me a little bit about what you've done to remedy that situation.
Yeah, so in order to keep contaminants out and have to not park the tractor downhill to keep oil from leaking out, we use a flange style shaft. So as the shaft sticks outside the tractor, has a flat flange with 6 bolts around it, and you just bolt the style of spline shaft that you want, whether it's 6-spline 540, small 1,000, big 1,000. You bolt that with 6 bolts with an impact or a socket wrench. You bolt that to the flange, and that's how you change it. Everything's external, no grease, no mess.
I like that. I also like talking about no mess. Yeah, so there we go.
So here's an example of the 540. So again, we would take those bolts out of here, plop that on, screw them back together, and there we go.
Show me the front end on this tractor. I'm used to running a independent front suspension 8530. On that tractor, there's a lot of alamites, and we don't grease them every day, but there's a service period that we grease them, depending on how many hours we run it. But there's a lot of different alamites and different places you got to grease, keep a check on that 8530 on the front with that independent suspension. What we have here is a lot of travel, a lot of movement, a lot of ride comfort, but I don't see any alamites.
Yeah, so when you get our high-speed CVT transmission, you're going to get a suspended front axle. One, we do that for ride control going down the road, maneuverability and such, but the other thing is for a more comfortable ride. We use, again, a solid front axle, and then we suspend it using hydraulic cylinders to kind of dampen that. great thing about this system, there are no grease zerks on the front of this tractor. Some competitors with their independent front suspension, they've got around 27 grease zerks that you're greasing every couple days.
Yep.
There's nothing you need to do here. All sealed bearings, maintenance free.
So this is Wesley Stevens. He's out of Tifton, out of Atlantic Southern in Tifton. He is the dealer for this area for Massey Ferguson. Once you cross the river into Alabama, there's a different dealer there. I think we may have him out here tomorrow, possibly.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly. My grandpa always said Alabama was 1 hour and 20 years behind Georgia. But we'll find out tomorrow. But this is the man, if you're over here in South Georgia, Wesley Stevens, Atlantic Southern. If somebody wants one of these Massey Fergusons, you're the guy to call?
That's it. Yeah. I can be reached at 229-322-5588, and I'll be glad to work up any kind of quote somebody needs on one. So.
How is there some available at the store, or is it a wait time, a lead time, or what was that situation?
It depends.
Like?
We've got some units in stock, some of these S-Series units in stock, but if you wanted a custom order, I'd be glad to build one up, and glad to place an order or find one somewhere else around the country as well. So.
And you can sell them outside of your region also, or do y'all kind of not step on each other's feet with that?
Just to make sure we can take care of the customers after we sell something. We like to kind of stay Southwest Georgia, North Florida, and we really like to try to take care of the customer after the sale on parts and service.
Okay. So you really want to stay in your region so you can develop the customer relationship. That's there.
Right. Yes, it's good. It's good for the customer and it's good for us as well.
Okay.
So.
10-4. Well, that's going to do us today out here. The nuts are not quite dry enough to pick. The vines are still a little bit green. We didn't have enough sunshine yesterday, but we're going to pick back up out here tomorrow. We're going to pick a lot of nuts. We're going to get this thing making some dust, get a lot of shots of it actually working so y'all can see how it does out here. And thank all y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.